Savitha Sastry production company is not only known for their dance and concepts in their productions, but also known and noted for their outstanding music. Be it Dance of Doubt from Prophet, or be it Dance of Satan from Youth, or very recently Descent theme, every part of this music is gonna stay with us for a long period of time. Today, we meet A.K. Srikanth, who is not only the director and writer of all Savitha Sastry productions, but also an instrumental person in creating genre-defining music. Namaskaram, sir. Sir, all your production has a very unique music, unlike, the music which we find in any other Bharatnatyam productions. Do you think traditional music has some limitations?
Yes, they do have limitations, and I'll tell you where the limitations come from. Now, the traditional music has been made for a certain repertoire. The traditional music fits in very well if you're doing a Shiva Shakti piece or a piece on Krishna and Radha's feuds. There is a certain set of stories that are commonly said or used in Bharatanatyam, and that for doing that, there is enough of a repertoire of music. But if you've decided that you want to shift the story out of mythology, out of religion, to tell a tale less told, so to say, then fitting in the traditional music that Bharatanatyam has to offer tends to become a kind of trying to force fit something to meet your needs. So if you've stepped away from the normal themes that Bharatanatyam uses, then everything has to follow suit. It just can't be that the story is now different, but everything else is the same. So if you've decided to step out of the box, as our productions have, as Savitha herself has been doing for, I think, over a decade and a half now, so you can't just step out in terms of content and not step out in terms of music or costumes or the way it is filmed or staged. I think the shift that happens in the paradigm has to extend to every element of the production. So if I was to try to go and find a music which is already present, I would probably find that it would not fit into what I'm trying to do, which to me is a compromise. And once you've reached a compromise on one thing, your whole production gets compromised. That's the problem with using traditional music in projects such as this. Now, if you are doing a regular set of Margams, 6 pieces or whatever that you have in a repertoire, I think you have enough and more traditional music available to be able to pull that off.
Sir, you just said traditional music won't meet the need of the productions, the type of productions which you are talking about. So how do you approach creating a new music for such kind of productions?
It's a process, and it's a long process in our case. If you look at the various components we have to make a film, which is writing the story, storyboarding it, the music, the choreography, the costumes, or even shooting the movie itself or editing the movie, I think the single largest or the single longest time consumer in all of this is the music. There's that much thought which goes into the music. So how do we go about it? First and foremost, we establish what are the moods that we seek to establish through the story. So for those parts of the story that will progress through dance, we figure out what is the script calling for, what sort of music is it calling for, what sort of feel of the music do I seek in that scene. Now, once I know that very clearly, I will look for music that gives me that feel. That inspiration could come from any genre. It could be, in my case, I listen to a lot of rock and blues and trance, and a lot of times the inspiration for the mood I'm seeking comes from these genres. However, the genres are infinite. You could get it from African music, Middle Eastern music, Southeast Asian music, whatever. Whatever gives you the mood that you're seeking, find those pieces first, preferably more than one of them. Right? So if you're looking for, let's say your script calls for a feeling of forlornness or nostalgia, right? Look for pieces which evoke that sense in you. It could be an old Kishore Kumar song that evokes it in you. That's fine. There must be some music you know of which evokes that feel in you. Get hold of that music first. So once we've got that music, we then go to our music composer where I say, okay, I'm seeking a mood of nostalgia. And the kind of nostalgia I'm seeking, you'll get an idea when you listen to these 2 or 3 pieces of music. And I make him listen to it. Now, it's his job to take that mood and translate it into something that can be danced to. So, in effect, he Carnaticizes this. Now, it could be strict Carnatic, it could be some sort of instrumentation in his Carnatic which hasn't traditionally been used in Carnatic. In fact, several of our compositions have instruments that you wouldn't normally find in Carnatic genres, right? And basically, we come up with the music that we seek for our productions. Now, perhaps the best way I can illustrate this is through 2 or 3 examples of how we actually did this. And the first one I'm going to talk about was the very famous Dance of Satan, which comes from our production Yudh. And in Dance of Satan, we were seeking a certain sense of ruthlessness, a certain sense of ominousness, dread. All of those concepts were going to come in. Not typically something you would have associated with Carnatic music, right? And therefore, I had one piece in mind which I actually went to Rajkumar, our music composer, and I told him, could you listen to this? And that piece is called Inertia Creeps. It's by a group called Massive Attack. It was a very popular song in its time, post which I would play the Dance of Satan, and you'll see how the 2 pieces evoke the same mood while being completely different. The second piece I'm going to speak about comes from our production from 2013. It was called The Prophet. Now, in the last part of that performance, and I think the last quarter of that performance, we have the principal character who is plagued by doubt. And that doubt leads to her downfall. So, in a sense, the climax is kind of like a downward spiral. And the music we wanted to compose at this part was naturally called the Dance of Doubt, and we wanted to have a fairly intense piece of music, something that showcases a downward spiral, a fall into nowhere. Those kinds of feelings had to be evoked, which were very intense, very strong feelings that we were trying to depict in this part. Now, the inspiration for me came from another movie. It was called Requiem for a Dream, where the last part of the movie has a very similar concept of, everything devolving into chaos. So I heard this Requiem for a Dream, and again, this became the inspiration for what was to be Dance of Doubt. Now, an interesting part of this is Dance of Doubt features Shehnai. Ideally, traditionally, Shehnai is used in auspicious pieces of music. Here we were using Shehnai to demonstrate doubt. Another one of the reasons why we think that it's not good to stick to a box. You decide to go with the feel of what works best in that particular case. I'll play you the Dance of Doubt, which we created from the inspiration of Requiem for a Dream. Let me give you a third example, and this also comes from the same production, Prophet, 2013. This one consists of the middle section of Prophet. Here we are finding that the principal character, called Devaduta, has now become a dancer of great acclaim. Such great acclaim that critics claim that she is not even human, she is probably some Apsara who's come down on earth. And that word Apsara got us thinking, what kind of music can we put in there which has a connect with Apsara's divinity, those sorts of feelings. And immediately the first thing that comes to your mind is we have plenty of those in Carnatic, so we can go with. But it wouldn't have fitted in there, because here we are saying that is it really divinity or is it insanity? It could be either. So we decided we are going to go and look into trance. Trance has a rather hypnotic quality about it. Because of the repetitiveness of the beats, it creates a very hypnotic atmosphere. Something that's used a lot in Sufi music, where it's music for gods, but it tends to be very hypnotic in its quality of rendition. So what we went to in this case as an inspiration came from actually the Buddha Bar series, our album number 8. And following this, I'll show you what we created in Prophet, which is called the Dance of the Capital.
Sir, what is your advice for the young upcoming dancers who are trying to experiment on the new productions as such? Because especially when you don't have enough of budget for the productions, how do you advise those people?
For the music, you mean?
Yes, for the music.
Yes, I think it's a very, very good question. I don't expect that everybody has the resources or the bandwidth available to be able to compose or have music composed for their specific projects. Now, that would be ideal. If you could do that, there is nothing like it. But if you're unable to do that, it's not the end of the world. What you have to do is, first and foremost, you have to train yourself to be able to listen to a whole lot of genres of music. You can't limit yourself to saying that these are the only kinds of music I listen to. You'll have to listen to everything in the world. You'll have to go back to the sense of, okay, what is my production about and what kind of moods I seek from it. Using the keywords that you seek for your particular pieces, go and look for that music online. On YouTube, on several other platforms, you have royalty-free music. You have music that you can use just by acknowledging who made it. You don't have to pay for it as long as you don't monetize it. So if you're trying to find music, that I would suggest would be the first place to go and look. Let's assume you have to make a production that's got a theme that's sad, right? And you want something sad, something somber to play on the background. And I'm just assuming that you're going to use instrumental music, because if you're going to have words in it, it makes things a little more complicated, right? Let's assume you're using instrumental music. Go search for sad, somber theme music, royalty-free, on YouTube or on the internet, and you'll find tons and tons of samples. Would they sound like Bharatanatyam's typical music? No. But I'm assuming if you've come this far to be searching for music like that, then you're already ready to step out of the box a little bit, right? Now, how you choreograph to that music is a separate lesson in itself, which I'm sure Savitha would have her own inputs on, which would also be available on Inner Circle. But what my suggestion would be is, before you even get to the level of a production, try to get such music, royalty free or otherwise. Try to make your own compositions, try to understand what the music is speaking, and try to see how you can best fit it. Now, if you want something more Indian in taste, you can also use that in your search term. There are a lot of great Indian instrumental music available on the net, which are royalty free. I think that would be your first starting point to find out more sources of music which you can use in your productions.
Thank you so much, sir, for all your advice. It will be very helpful for all the dancers, especially the upcoming ones. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.